Hey y'all, I'm James Wright. Welcome to my shop, and today we're talking about chisels and why do I have so many of them. I did a short recently where I showed piles of chisels that I have because they're one of those things that tend to collect. You get the basic ones and then you start to get specialties that you need for specific things. I didn't realize it, but apparently that brings up a lot of questions for people. So today I want to take a look at the chisels I have and show why do I have so many and what are their particular uses. So let's start right here on my chisel rack. These are the chisels that I use every day in and day out. These are the ones that I grab, and quite literally every single day I'm using at least one, if not multiples of these chisels. So right up front on the rack I have two sets of chisels. I have my Nerix Richters and then I have my Zenwus, and I use those interchangeably because I'm kind of experimenting to seeing which one do I grab. These are my standard bench chisels. In this place, this is the type of chisel that everyone should have. Not these specific ones. These are rather high-end, especially these from Zenwu are very high-end. The Nerix Richters are actually a pretty good bang for the buck. They're a bit more expensive, but they're not into the specialty range yet. The simple bevel-edge chisel is the most common tool. I'm going to use this for mortises, for chopping, for paring. This is the workhorse of the shop that can make everything happen. So yes, on my main shelf I have two sets of chisels. These are the exact same size. Why do I need two chisels that are the exact same size? Because I'm a woodworking educator and I've got to be constantly trying new things and experimenting and playing with new techniques and finding out new companies that come out and see what's on the market. And I need to know, do they perform well? And one of the best ways to know if the chisel performs well is to use it on a daily basis. And so that's why I have these here. If I wasn't a woodworking educator, I'd only need one set and I would only have 6 chisels in my rack rather than having 12 chisels. But wait! There's a bunch of chisels hidden behind these bench chisels. Most of those chisels I keep back there because they just don't quite fit in the roll. This big crank neck would take up too much space, but it fits back there nicely. I have a few Japanese chisels back there and a few Harbor Freight chisels. I don't use these regularly, but I do pull them out because I like to be able to show them in videos, and sometimes I need to be able to talk about a particular type of chisel. Then I've got a couple other weird chisels, and these are just specialty chisels that normally I would put in my roll, but because I use them often enough, I want them. This is a double bevel skew, and I love this little thing. It gets into tight little corners. Here's a fishtail chisel that I use all the time when I'm doing half-blind dovetails. And yes, that's Damascus steel. I've got a video of making this. I've got a 1/4-inch mortising pig sticker. I use this thing a lot when I'm doing 1/4-inch mortises. Then I've got a 1/4-inch everlasting chisel. And this is one that I pull out every now and then when I just want to hit something. This is a chisel that's designed for impact. And you could throw this thing off the Empire State Building. It wouldn't cause any damage. Well, okay, it wouldn't cause any damage to the chisel, but I wouldn't want to be standing underneath it. So that explains the chisels in my rack. These are my day-to-day chisels, but what about all of my other chisels over here? Most of those are actually carving chisels, and when it comes to carving chisels, there's no two alike. This is my main roll of my most common carving chisels, and from front to back, most common to least common I use. I have my V-tool and a couple simple gouges that I use all the time. I've got a skew in here, and then I've got a couple straight chisels. But you'll notice I have all of these gouges, and every one of these has a different radius. The radius on each of these gouges is different, and that's because when you're carving, you need a whole collection of different radius, as well as different widths to the sweep. This one and this one have the same radius, but they're different widths. When you first get into carving, you can get away with a couple basic tools. A V-tool and some simple bench chisels can get you an incredibly long way. But the more you get into it, the more you're going to find, I just would love to have that particular sweep. It would make this particular task very easy. But you may not be doing that particular task very often because you may not carve that flower very often. What if you're carving that flower? Well, for that flower, this chisel would make it very easy. And then next time I'm carving that thing over there, I need this chisel. And this project, I need 5 specialty chisels. And then, before you know it, you've got a lot of chisels. And then you get into testing chisels. And then it quite literally breaks the drawer. Actually, I just pulled the drawer off of this a moment ago when trying to open up the drawer. And then you start teaching woodworking. And when you do that, you're going to need multiple sets of every chisel you're going to be teaching. And you end up with a lot of them very fast. You may have noticed something though. I do a lot of things that most people aren't going to do in their woodworking career. And if you're a hobbyist, you're probably never going to do it. Not too many people hold in-person classes in their shop. Not too many people do regular chisel tests where they have to test different parameters. Not too many other people have to actually teach on different types of chisels and their uses. So for most people, this is really overkill. But surprisingly, for me, it's actually a bit of underkill because I'm regularly in classes being like, oh no, I don't have enough of them, I need to go buy more because I need to be able to supply 6 people in here. And then there's some technique I want to show, and well, then I need that tool to show that technique. And for the average person out there, you're not going to run into that problem. For the average person out there, you only need 1 set of bench chisels. Maybe a skew chisel, maybe 1 mortising chisel, maybe a fishtail chisel if you get fancy. And then if you happen to get into carving, you buy 1 or 2 that you're going to be using all the time, and then you buy the rest as you need them for a project. One of the problems I have is a lot of people see all these tools and they think they need all of these to get going. No! You can go to Harbor Freight, buy 1 set of cheap chisels and get going. This will do you fine. Now, eventually you're probably going to want to upgrade and different people are going to want different things, but you don't need all of these. I just happen to be in a very odd situation because my needs in my shop are very different from the needs in your shop. One of the things I love about watching Rex Kruger is he actually slims down what is in view in his camera shots so that you don't feel like you need all of these things because he teaches accessible woodworking. He teaches people how to get up and get going and make things, and that is phenomenal, and I love that about his channel. On my channel, I teach the enjoyment of woodworking. I teach the fun, the things that make me happy. And for a lot of people, that's collecting tools. For a lot of people, that's trying new things and experimenting and playing around. And that's why I do things a little bit different. So let's bring it back to the chisels. Do you need them all? No. Do you want them all? Maybe. Maybe you should start teaching classes. It's a great excuse for buying more tools. So I hope you like this little dive into why do I have so many chisels. Yes, there is a reason for it, but it's not the reason most people think. It's not that you need all these chisels, it's that you need all these chisels. And they are fun to have, so yeah. I hope you like this. If you have any questions, thoughts, ideas, snide remarks, throw them down in the comments down below, and thank you for that, it does help. I love saying that. But all those names over there, those are patrons on Patreon. They are the people who are making this happen. And without them, this channel would not exist. So I want to say a huge thank you to everyone over there. Those patrons are the lifeblood of this channel. And without them, we would not exist. And that's one of the reasons why I can buy some of these things to actually demonstrate and show them. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to afford it because I don't do ads in the middle of my channel. So thank you for that. If you'd like to find out more about that, links down below. You know all that. I think that'll do it for now. And until next time, have a wonderful day. When the roll is called a chisel, when the roll is called a chisel, I'll be right. Tool rolls always make me feel like I'm Bavarian. Roll out the chisel, and we'll have a chisel of fun.